Hello YouTube, welcome to Motorcycling with Carl. Today is a kind of crazy episode about the project bike. I think we may have solved the mystery. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of it documented on camera because how things went is kind of crazy. I'm hoping that the mystery is solved, but I want to walk you through what kind of went on here. So I was going to do a video. I did the compression video, as you know, was the Project Bike episode 1. Project Bike episode 2 was going to be me taking off the fuel tank and the airbox and getting to the carburetor, starting the bike, because the bike had the high idle and everything, and the guy that owned the bike before me said something about the bike had a vacuum leak or something. So I was like, let me take that off and we'll get the bike running. I'll make a little temporary fuel tank to run the bike, which I did. I made this little temporary tank here. Okay, take this, you vent it, put the fuel line here. It's got a valve on the bottom. Boom, so I could take the fuel tank off, run the bike. So I did that. I was filming some of that stuff, and I did mess up with the camera work there. But so I hooked the fuel tank up. I started the bike to do the carb test. Got the bike running at idle. I had some carbon choke cleaner. I sprayed around the carburetors and the boots and everything. Because if it was a vacuum leak and it sucked that in, the motor would have bogged down, you know? So nothing was happening. So I had no clue as to why the bike was idling so high. The idle screw adjuster was backed all the way out. So it was just idling high. So for some dumb reason, I decided to put my hand over the exhaust pipes at idle. Cylinders 1 and 4 was fairly warm. Cylinder 2 and 3 was out the other side of the bike. I put my hand over that, and it was probably about half as warm as the other one. So I found that kind of odd. So at that point in time, I got my little laser thermometer and had the bike idling, and I shot a temperature of all 4 of the headers coming out of the bike, and sure enough, 1 and 2 and 4 overloaded my heat gun thing, but 3 was only at 200 and something. So cylinder 3 was not firing and running. All right, so I decide to shut the bike off, see what's going on. I says, cylinder 3 is not running. So I decided, I says, well, let me run another compression test. So I redid the compression test. Cylinder 1 was good. Cylinder 2 was good. A little lower than last time, all right? So it was like 135, somewhere around there. Cylinder 1, cylinder 2. Cylinder 4 was good. Cylinder 3 was coming in at a whopping 50 PSI. So I'm like, what is going on? I just did that test there, and it was perfect. So now I'm saying to myself, what is going on? So I did check, spark, ignition, everything was good in all 4 cylinders. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why all of a sudden that cylinder was back to 50 PSI. So I thought about it last night, and I said, oh, I didn't open the throttle when I tested the compression. So I came out today, opened the throttle, tested the compression in all 4 cylinders, Perfect. 145, all 4 cylinders. Let the throttle go. 130 on 1, 130 on 2, 50 on 3, 130 on 4. So with the throttle closed, cylinder 3 didn't have compression. What the heck is going on? So I can't figure it out. I was talking to my father, and he says, "Well, I'll come over and we'll take a look at it together." So we decided to perform a little leak down test. All right, I don't have a leak down meter or whatever, so we decided to put just some air. We got the on the compression stroke, we got the cylinder to top dead center. Put some air in the cylinders, and we heard nothing bleeding out of the carbs on cylinder 3. We heard nothing bleeding out the exhaust, all right? But all 4 cylinders, you do hear a little hissing in the crankcase because a little air does make it down past the rings. So they all sound exactly the same. So at this point, I'm pulling my hair out. I say, what is going on? So we decided that we were going to take the exhaust off. So I pulled the headers off. And let me bring this camera over here. I'm sure you could still see the pipes here and everything. Let me grab a flashlight. So we pull the pipes off. Hopefully you can see in there. And cylinder 3, I hope I'm getting that. Alright, there we are. Cylinder 3 is loaded up with oil, and hopefully you can see that. It's loaded up with oil, and it's all carboned up and messed up. So cylinder 3, as you can see there, is all loaded up, and had carbon. So we're like, it's got to be a problem with the exhaust valve. So I'm like, all right, it's probably a problem with the exhaust valve. I'm ready to take on the task, pull out the motor, and do what I have to do to it. So I pushed the bike in the garage, and I says, you know what? I found a guy that rebuilds carbs. I'll send it out to him and, have it back in a week or 2 weeks or whatever. So I said to my dad, I said, let me pull the carb off and, take a look down on that side, see what it looks like. So pulled the carb off, came off fairly easy. Look in there, everything looks good on that side. All right. So I have the carbs off, and I say, it just doesn't explain, why. I still don't understand why with the throttle open, throttle closed, it's making a difference on the compression. So took the carb off, and we were having a discussion, and I was saying, I still don't understand why this bike has such a high idle. Okay? And so we're thinking and we're talking, and at that point my father said something, and I was holding the carb in my hand, and I'm looking at it, and that's when I realized he said something about the butterflies and the idle and the adjustment. And when I looked at it and held this baby up, all right, if you look at it, cylinder, let me see here if I can get light to come through here. Cylinder 1, you see light. Cylinder 2, you see light. Cylinder 3 is tight as a frog's asshole. cylinder 4 you see light. Okay? So, somebody at some time or something, who knows, messed with this sink screw here. All right? Carb number 3 is totally closed. There is absolutely no airflow going through carb 3 when the throttle is closed. So what is happening, all right, even if the idle adjust screw here, even if you back it all the way out to where it's not even touching, number 3 closes so tight so early that the other 3 are open too much. All right? So that is making the high idle. And what's happening, the fact that 3 is closed so tight and won't let any air through, is you're now creating a vacuum in cylinder number 3 on the intake. I believe it's on the intake stroke. All right, because it can't bring any air in through the carburetor, it's pulling air possibly through the valve seal, all right, on the exhaust, and it's pulling oil up through the rings from the crankcase into the cylinder. So at idle, it's loading that cylinder up with oil, we believe, and that is why it's not firing. It's got no air, and it's creating a vacuum and pulling oil into the cylinder. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna try to sink these 4 carburetors as good and close as we can. All right, put it back on the bike, put the bike together, and see if cylinder 3 starts running, and see how the bike performs. I know the clutch is still a little rough, but we're gonna do this. We're gonna put it back together and start it up and see if that solves our problem. Because now, if they're all set together too, when we bring the idle screw back, our idle should be right where we want it to. So this could be solving all of our problems, because without the exhaust or without the carbs on, compression is fine. So let's see what happens. All right, I'm sorry with this video that I missed a lot of this. My father was here. We were bouncing stuff back and forth, and we came up with this. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a professional, and this was just kind of a weird thing. I mean, I don't know if this is something that motorcycle mechanics see all the time, if this is a common problem. I never read that, but as far as all the reading I did about compression test, everybody said something about doing the compression test with the throttle open. All right, so you do it with the throttle open, you got the reading, yeah, the compression is good, all 4 cylinders. But it could be beneficial to do your compression test with the throttle closed also, because at that point, if one cylinder's lower, it may be because there's absolutely no airflow into your engine through the carburetors. So this was a crazy mystery that I think is solved. We'll know tomorrow. I'll try to film some of this, putting some of this stuff back together when I start the bike, and we'll see how it runs, see how this goes. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. Sorry it wasn't a little more hands-on and everything, but who knows, maybe everybody learned a little something from that. I know, I wish I saw a video like this online that could have gave me a clue about something like this, but now it'll be there for somebody else. All right, so this is Carl saying laugh a lot, be nice, and stay safe.